What's up, everybody? It is Monday, January 3rd, 2022. Happy New Year once again. Strong day in the market today. I sent out some charts to my subscribers that the headline of the email was, you're going to see some frightening fiscal charts. But there was an explanation in there, and I'm going to talk to you about this explanation. If you follow these fiscal flows like I do, and if you update your work every day, which I do, I have a database on this, I just update the work every day. I mean, you literally will see like the year-over-year comparisons now just collapsing, falling off a cliff. We went from just a couple of days ago spending at 120 billion over the same time last year to now we're 85 billion below last year's level. So it's like, think of a chart that goes like this and then just plunges straight down. And also we were growing, the fiscal expansion was growing at a 7% year-over-year rate. Now it's contracting at a 5% year-over-year rate. So, you know, if that just came about like out of nowhere, I mean, we would be looking at a serious recession. Like, serious, okay? But the reason why the year-over-year differential just plunged like that is because at this time last year, January 2021, we had another big fiscal stimulus put through. And so there was a huge, increase in government spending right around this time last year because of when, the Trump passed it in late in December, and then it went into effect early, in 2021. And so that's why the year over year looks so dramatic and so scary. The real thing we got to look at is what are the daily flows now and what does that extrapolate to as a monthly flow rate. And to be honest, that's not looking so hot either, okay? We're down to around 19 billion. The 10-day average of the daily flows, that's 19 billion. That's less than 400 billion a month. I mean, we ended December, let me think, we ended December at around 580 billion, maybe slightly above, maybe close to 590 billion. And November, I think, was like also around 590 billion. October was 512 billion. Now we're running, if you extrapolate that 19 billion average, daily average, we're running at about under a 400 billion monthly rate. So that's a big drop from where we were, up until recently. And I don't think that's so good, to be honest with you. Now, having said that, and I spoke about this in my last couple of videos, we are seeing a pretty significant expansion in bank credit, in loans and leases. And I've explained the difference to you before. Like there's two kinds of money. I mean, there's the government money, that's high-powered money, that's money that you get to keep, put it in your pocket. If you get a Social Security check or an unemployment check, or government sends out money to people in the form of some kind of stimulus or whatever, that's yours to keep. It doesn't come with an offsetting liability. And the other kind of money, by the way, that's called vertical money. The other kind of money, horizontal money, that's bank money, that's bank credit. Yeah, you get a deposit in your checking account, but you owe the bank. You got to pay them back, and you got to pay them back with interest. So at the same time that you get an asset, which is that deposit, you get a liability, which is the debt, okay? And the liability exceeds at least the original asset. Maybe you go on and you use that money and you buy something and it appreciates more than what you owe. That's great. But in general, your indebtedness, your net worth either doesn't change or it could go down. All right? So it could go up to, if you make the right investments, right? Obviously, like a lot of people have made money in their homes, but the point being is that we have a contraction in the fiscal going on right now. And you see, these two things are very much related. When fiscal contracts, that means the government is shrinking its, debt, if you want to call it that. It's not really, but, just for illustration, we'll call it that. The government's shrinking its debt. When that happens, the non-government, that's us, our debt expands. That's how it works. By the way, how does the government shrink its debt? It could do it in two ways. I mean, it could cut spending or it could increase taxes. And both of those things are happening. They haven't increased taxes per se, but I've explained in the past how the way things are set up, like we have automatic stabilizers when the economy goes down. You have things like Social Security and unemployment benefits and food stamps and Medicare and all that stuff. But when the economy goes up and expands, the government collects more taxes off of that expansion just by virtue of the fact that, the growth in the economy, more income is earned, etc. And that becomes like an inverse automatic stabilizer. Okay? That's like an automatic fiscal drag supplier, for lack of a better term. And that's exactly what's happening. Like right now, tax collections are exceeding the flow of spending. All right, I go again back to the swimming pool analogy, that the level's coming down and it's coming down fast. I got to tell you that right now, if you look at the month of December, the deficit in the month of December was only something like 39 billion. I mean, that comes out to, on an annual basis, a deficit of about 490 billion. And we were getting used to deficits of 2.7 trillion. So that is a huge contraction in the deficit. So what does that mean? When the government runs a deficit of 2.7 trillion, that means it has transferred 2.7 trillion to the non-government, to us. And we saw that in personal savings went way up when the government ran big deficits. But when it takes that away, right, we're talking about taking away 2 trillion, maybe 2.4 trillion, that's just removing all of those savings. It leaves us, just think of like, you ever put your hands in your pockets and like you pull the inside of your pockets out to symbolize you're broke, right? That's what's going on right now. So we're getting more in debt. Look, right now, luckily, because the level of the debt burden is still very, very low. It's about 9% of disposable income. And I mentioned like in 2007, right before the great financial crash, it was something like 13% of disposable income. So we could, pile on this debt for a pretty long period of time, it seems, and everything will be okay. But what's happening is you're building a much shakier foundation, economic foundation. When household debt burdens were low and when the government was spending a lot of money, everybody was flush with cash. That's why the stock market boomed and corporate profits boomed. We're building now a much shakier foundation with the current arrangement. So yeah, it could run for a while. I'm much more cautious on the market and actually have a kind of a defensive posture on right now. But that's what's going on. Now we're just, 3 days, it is the first business day of the new year. I got to watch these flows. I mean, maybe they're going to pick up. And who knows, maybe the Build Back Better thing will pass. I mean, the Senate's supposed to pick that up again now that that's what Schumer promised. We'll see what happens. But this is a completely different picture, basically, than what we've seen, going back even before Trump. This is a different picture. We're in a contracting fiscal environment. We're in a shrinking deficit environment. We haven't seen this. I don't know. You got to go back to really George Bush leading up to the 2007 great financial crash. So, shakier foundation. That's the title of this video. All right, everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye.